What is up, everybody? John here from Paint Scout. Super excited to have you guys joining us today. We're going to be talking about the 99 Best project, which I believe is a super important project and something I'm very excited about. So very happy you guys are here. This is going to take about half an hour today, and I'm really hoping that we can get everyone inspired just to get this project done in the next about a month to get some good data back so that we can start using this data together. So super excited you're here. Again, I'm John, CEO here of Paint Scout, and yeah, let's get into it. First things first, this data, this project for me is a big deal. It's a, personally, it's a big deal. And the reason is because I've been in this industry for 15 years. And when I first started as a contractor, I looked around for data about how long things took. I searched really hard, and there was nothing available. It was very much kind of something that was hidden. I found some PCA info, and it wasn't tremendously helpful. And I think this project, for me, it's such a big deal because we're going to get a chance to actually get some data that's going to be helpful for painting contractors, for you guys, and just help change your business, help change the industry a little bit. So really excited. Thanks for being here. Not to mention, we have about 200 contractors who've committed to doing this, and that's huge. We initially looked for 99 bedrooms. That would have been about 35 contractors, 33 contractors, something like that. And that for us, we thought was statistically significant, but now we have the chance to get about 600 bedrooms. And I think that's going to be huge and give us some data that really is going to be something we can rely on and really trust. So second thing here is if you're not signed up already, there's a few people on the call that we know haven't signed up, and please do. You can do that through the QR code here at the bottom right, or just through the link that we're going to send out after this webinar. Great for communication. It's going to give you more details as we work through this project. We've never done a project like this before, so we're learning a little bit. Well, you're doing it and getting the questions back, so it's going to help us communicate, as well as we want to help keep you accountable. This kind of thing is easy to sign up for, but we got to actually do it. We got to do it with our teams. We got to actually get that data, and so we're going to be hounding you a little bit. We're going to be sending you some reminders, encouraging you to get this done. So please sign up. And third, this data is going to be great. We're going to get into a little bit about what the data is and how it's going to work, but there's no way that you're not going to be happy to be a part of this project once you get this data and we actually accomplish our goal. So again, happy you're here. All right, before we get started, I want to make a quick announcement. PCA conference, we're a part of the PCA. We hope you are too. It's fantastic. Great way for us to share information within our community and just learn from other industry experts. So PCA's conference is happening February 22nd through 24th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you have a chance to be there, definitely encourage you to sign up. We'll be there, be happy to meet you. And yeah, just a great chance to learn. So take a look into that if you can. All right, quick project refresher. So this project is about painting bedrooms, prep and paint of bedrooms. And we wanted to keep it pretty simple to bedrooms at this point because bedrooms have most of the elements that most interior paint jobs have. It's got walls, ceiling, trim, doors, and it's something that most contractors are doing on a regular basis. So it's a chance for us to actually get some data back that is going to be easy to collect. What is a bedroom? We titled it 99 bedrooms, but ultimately it's any room in a home or commercial space, anything that's got width, length, and height. So we want to just say it doesn't have to be a bedroom, but if it can be, that's great. So also this project's going to run through February 28th. That's about 6 weeks from now, and it's going to give everyone a chance to actually get the information in and time their crews. You do not have to do each bedroom in the same home, in the same space. It could be one this week, one in 2 weeks, one in 3 weeks, and that's okay. So whatever you're able to do over the next 6 weeks is great. And once you actually submit your 3 bedrooms and we reach that 99 bedroom mark to get that statistical significance, we're going to send that back to everybody. And as that grows, you'll be able to see that data being updated. But we do need you to submit 3 bedrooms in order to get the results back. And we do need to reach that mark. So given the amount of contractors we have in this project, I see no problems with that. I think it's going to be quite easy for us to get this, but we need everyone's involvement to make it happen. So let's do this. All right. So why are we doing this? Quick reminder for those in the group. We've got people here with just getting their contracting business started, and we have people here that have 10, 20, 30 years experience in a very developed business. This information is valuable to everyone, really. And it's going to be something that you're going to be able to use for a long time. So first, better estimating. We sell time ultimately as painting contractors, and guessing causes problems. So whether that means that you have crews that you're paying to do the work, or you are subcontracting, knowing how long things take is going to help you to get better estimates out to your customers and to get that information out to your crews. So huge help there. Second is better production. So you're going to give your crew an idea of how long things take, and you're going to watch that production improve. Without a doubt, so many times we hear, why did Joey not be able to do that room in this amount of time? Or, was that the right amount of time? Or is my crew purposefully going over budget? And at this point, we're going to be able to get information that leads to better production and actually gets us into a place where we can produce really profitable work and understand why that's happening. Third is just better team management. Wouldn't it be nice to go to someone on your team and just say, hey, that took you 3 hours, and on average that takes 2. I think it'd be great if we can improve that. It gives us some information to work with in order to give great feedback to our teams, make them become better people, be fair, and just be good to each other in the process to make sure that they know what the expectations are and whether that's fair. All right, let's get into how the project works. So what's going to happen is that we're going to be timing our teams again in 3 bedrooms. You're going to get a data sheet. We'll cover that here next to input the information into. That's going to come both in a digital format and a printable format. So you're going to have both of those available to you. And then once you have that data, we're going to send that back to us, and we're going to amalgamate it. We're going to make it apples to apples, and we're going to produce a data set that you're going to get back at the end. All right. So first things first here, what I'd like you to do, if you haven't already done this, is I'd like you to follow along the PDF that we've created for this project. It's going to give you a chance here to just kind of read along as I'm going through it. In order to do that, you can access it through the QR code here on the bottom. Also, we've put that link into the chat. So if you just want to take a minute, bring that up. It's going to help you follow along here over the next few slides, just to make sure that you can see what's happening and be able to implement that with your teams. So, all right. So as you're doing that, just explain here a little bit about the sheets. So in the PDF, you're going to find that there's going to be links to the data recording sheets. One is a Google sheet that we've created, and the second is a printable version of the data sheet that if you want to give to your crews on site to actually fill out by hand, you can do that as well. You're going to find a link to both of those on page 3 of the PDF. So you can go to the PDF, click that. It's going to link you into the Google Sheet, and that's going to give you a chance to just review the type of data that you're going to need. For today's conversation, you can just stay on the PDF if you want. We're going to walk through it step by step of what you need to do there, but that's ultimately where you find that sheet. First thing we need to cover though is that sheet is a read-only file, so you're going to have to make a copy. And that's explained in the PDF as well. So you've got to go click File, make a copy, and then you're going to label it for your company name. So pretty straightforward. That's going to allow you to edit that file and input all your data. There's going to be 3 separate different folders at the bottom for each bedroom that you have. So that's going to allow you to put the data in for the first bedroom, second bedroom, third, and then send us the link, and we can get all that data together. All right, so now that you've got the sheets, you've got the recording sheets for the data, we actually have to go and do the work in the home or in the space we're going to be working. And so what we want to do is we're going to pick that room. We've got our recording a sheet that we're going to be filling out the data on. And we want to first take photos of the space in order to just effectively communicate that to us. So a couple things to remember, make sure that those photos are clear, use good lighting. It will be really helpful is if there can be a picture of each wall in the room. It doesn't have to be each picture of one wall, but it can be two walls in one picture. We just need to see all the space so we can apples to apples match that up. We also need to see pictures of the door, the window profile, anything that might make that unique. So once again, we can match that up apples to apples. Also take some photos of any damage if you can. That helps us just give an assessment of preparation and keep it straightforward for us. And as a bonus point, you could just quickly take a pan or a video of the room, and that's going to give us all the details we really need, unless there's some things you need to focus on, like some damages or special close-up things we need to see. So that's the first thing we need. And again, as you're sending the information back, we just ask that each room is sent individually just so we can match those pictures up. All right, here's a couple examples. So once again, as I mentioned, just clear view of the walls in the room. You can see this room here at the top left doesn't have any furniture. That doesn't matter. We can have furniture and stuff in the space, just as long as we can see what's going on for when we put the data together. Second is close up of a window if you're painting a window and recording that data so that we can actually match that up as well. And same thing with doors. If it's a 6-panel or a flat door, or maybe it's a French door, we need to know those details as well. So yeah, that's the photo and videos that we need for this project. All right, so now you're in the space. You've taken a photo or photos and videos of the space to document it. The next step is to measure and count. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the width, length, and height of that space. And a great way to do that is with a laser measure. That's kind of the suggested method. It's going to be most accurate. And if you have a tape measure, that also works as well. But we just need to know what kind of space we're dealing with in terms of size. Don't worry about removing any space. So even though there's a window or a door, we don't want to remove any of that space. We just want the dimensions of the space. We'll figure that out from the photos as well. But there's a few PCA standards we're going to be using in order to document that. So you can leave that up to us. Third thing is if the room is a unique shape, get the actual square footage of the walls, the baseboard, the ceiling. You'll be able to see that when you input the data, you have a chance to actually change that total square footage. That just helps us understand the space because we won't be able to make those adjustments. So ultimately, if you can find a square or rectangular room, that's going to be the easiest, just because it's most straightforward. But if you have a unique area, just give us the total square footage of the wall, ceiling, and trim. All right, here's a quick slide on what that looks like. So if you're following along on the PDF, you're going to see this as well. If you're on the Google Sheet at this point, you'll see this up at the top. First things you need to do is just enter your name, your company name, and then you're going to enter in the width, length, and height of that room. And you can see there below that it calculates your total wall square footage, linear footage, ceiling square footage. And that's where you can adjust that if need be, if the space is unique. So just, keep that in mind. All right, the next step here when you're filling out the form, so you're in the space, you've taken your measurements, you've taken your photos, you're filling out the form, you've put your company name in, you've put the dimensions. We need to figure out if there's any special considerations of the room. So that's going to be things like, were the walls previously painted? Is this new drywall? Are they textured? Are the walls primed? All of these details play a factor in order for us to actually assemble the information so that it's going to be effective for everybody in the end. So fill out those special considerations. Again, you'll see on the PDF or on the Google Doc if you're following along. And yeah, it's just a click checkbox, pretty straightforward. Fifth step, once you've taken the considerations, you've got your measurements, you've taken the pictures, now we're going to start timing. And so we want to put down as many details as possible in the appropriate areas of the data recording sheets. That includes application method, setup time, cleanup time, etc. So we're going to be doing that based on minutes as well. So keep that in mind. The forms will explain that, but that helps keep things consistent between everybody. And you can easily give your teams on site a printed version, but we do need that data submitted digitally. So you have to take that in, input in the Google Sheet, and send that over to us. How to time it. So you're going to need some type of a timing device, whether it's a stopwatch, a phone, or something else that works for you. And we want to time every activity from the start of that activity to the end without a break. So that would mean that if you're setting up the space, we're starting the timer from the start of the setup to the end of the setup. Same thing goes if for any prep time you have or any application of paint. So it's important that the person knows that, hey, don't take any phone calls while you're doing this. We need to do this from start to finish. And the way the project is laid out is it's by coat for application methods. So you're not looking at a ton of time to apply, one coat. They can take a break after that. And also, we want to stop that time once they're done that activity. So we don't want to record drying time. That's not really important for this project. We just want to know application time, prep time, setup time. So again, start from the start of the activity to the end, no breaks, and that's going to help us get good information. The next thing you're going to do is on the recording sheets, you're going to put in any room prep. So you can see here that we have a space for setup time. So from the time you enter the room to the time you start painting, as well as cleanup time. And we just like a bit of a description. So if you've got to put drop cloths down, move furniture, vacuum floors, all of that stuff plays a factor. And we'd really like for as much description as possible in that area, just to, again, help us align the data. That's what's so important for us. Step 7 is we're going to be looking at the surfaces. So you'll see on the sheet that you can start to include information about each coat of paint applied to the surface. So here we're looking at the walls down at the bottom here. We've got the first coat, second coat, third coat. We've got the prep time, so that's going to be your patching and sanding and caulking, etc. Anything to get ready for painting that surface. Priming time if needed, and then painting time. So again, in minutes, just start, stopwatch, start it and stop it from that activity, enter the data in. Leave any fields blank if you're not actually going to be doing it. Every room doesn't have to have every single surface in it. It's just what you have available and what that project entails. So if the customers ask for, hey, just walls in this area, we just want to do the walls, and we're just going to fill out the data for the walls. If the customers ask for just the trim, same thing for the trim. But if you have the whole thing to do, fill out all the areas that apply to your project. And that also, this includes the preparation of the surfaces is going to be all amalgamated. It's going to be all together. And the reason for that is that every single area has a little bit of a different preparation time. And there's a human element to that. So although we feel like we might be able to get some consistent data for setup, for cleanup, prep is something that it might be a little bit iffy if we can get good data back. So we'll watch that as it comes in. All right, how to submit your data. This is kind of the final step. You've got it all recorded, you've got the measurements, you've got everything assembled, you're sending it back. And what we ask is that you send your photos and the link to your Google Sheet to hello@PaintScout. That's going to be monitored by our team. And if we have any questions, we can communicate with that email as well, just to get the information we need back from you. Like I said before, each room should be sent in a separate email for the pictures. Not only will that allow your email to be small enough to actually send, likely, but we're going to be able to see that room together and not mix things up. So step point 3 here is 3 separate emails. Send that to us, as soon as you're done, and we'll get the data back as soon as it's ready. All right, the last thing here is we have a Facebook group. It's called Pricing and Selling Painting Projects. And that group is a great place to come learn about pricing and selling projects, as well as just ask any questions you have about the project. And get to know other community members who are also doing the project. If you have videos you've taken of your team working, this project is a great chance to do that on, whether it's for marketing material or educational material. If you're taking videos of your team and how long it takes, feel free to post those there. Do speed up the process though if you can. Maybe put it at 2 or 3 times speed just to help everyone out. But it is a great place to showcase your work, showcase your team, and just ask questions about pricing and selling projects. Link is right there if you want to take a picture. Also, you can just look it up on Facebook. All right, a couple of FAQs before we get to our Q&A. So what if you're painting surfaces that are not on the recording sheet? This is a question we've had a couple times already, and you're going to see a spot on the recording sheet to just put any additional surfaces or activities you're doing and give the time for that. So if there's other contractors here who are doing that, we can match that data up. And if it turns out we have a lot of people doing the same thing, we're going to send that back. What if a big question we have is about speed and about who should be doing the work? What we're suggesting is that the person doing the work should be at a painter who can do the project properly and knows what they're doing. We're not looking for a trainee or apprentice. We're looking for a painter who has the skill to apply the paint properly. And that person, we'd recommend working at what we call an average speed. So they're just doing the work at an average time. They're not trying to win any awards. They're just working at a regular pace. So that way we can start to bring the information together in a consistent way. One thing we'll find though is that as we do this, if there are people who are doing it at a fast pace and people who are doing a slow pace, the more data that we get, the more ability we're going to have to actually see what the averages are. And I think that's going to help weed out a little bit of that, this is an expert speed or this is a beginner speed. We're going to be able to find out what that is, and then we're going to be able to pass that back in a way that we can compensate our teams properly, and we can start to just see what the expectations should be. So those are the few that we get. But again, if you have any questions, and I'm assuming you do, put those in the Q&A here. We're going to answer a few questions. But now let's get rolling. Now's the time to actually do this. So I'm going to ask here. So just bear with me here. I'm going to bring up the Q&A. Okay. All right. So hello, Jack Jordan. Thanks for joining in. Really happy you're here. So the question is, the number of openings and or cut-ins can vary greatly from room to room. Meaning if there's a room with 2 doors, 2 windows, 4 doors, or 4 windows. Yeah, absolutely. The room is going to vary. And what we're asking for, the reason for the pictures is that we can start to make assessments based on that room as to how we're going to approach that. The PCA has a number of really helpful rules of how to properly measure and estimate rooms. And so we're going to be using those standards to actually apply those to the rates that are delivered. So if you have 2 or 4 doors, that's actually pretty helpful. Throw that data in the recording sheets, and we can start to see, each door, each window, how that actually applies. So, all right, Brian. Hello, Brian. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so not a question. Something needs to be pointed out. So people need to make note of drying time because it's part of this exercise. So I have to consistently remind salespeople that when a project is small, such as 1 bedroom, you must consider dry time as an employee in the field as not going to clock out when things are drying. And if you don't allow for time, you're going to not have good GP on the project. Yeah, so it's a great point, Brian. I think time the dry time is important. The only thing for this project that's difficult is that different people have different assessments of what that dry time needs to be. You may have somebody who is willing to put a coat of paint on 20 minutes after the last coat, or someone who wants to wait that full recommended time from the manufacturer. So it's just a hard number for us to completely work with. I do 100% agree, though, that it needs to be part of the estimating process, and your salespeople need to be educated that, yeah, hey, this has dry time. So that's yeah, definitely important, but not something I'm so sure we can answer with this project. All right, Martin. Hello, Martin. Great to meet you. Good to see you on the call. Should we limit the amount of prep people in the room to 2? So if I'm understanding this question correctly, and Martin, maybe you can clarify if I'm not, but I think the question is, if we have more than one person in the room, how does that apply? Um, I mean, if you want to limit it to two, that's fine. Okay, great. That's the question. Ultimately, the key here, though, is that if those people are working on prep, they do prep from start to finish, and that time can be recorded as one activity. So if you have two or three, if it's a bigger room and they're doing the prep on that area, just ensure that it's clear that they know it's from start to finish of the activity. And that'll help us get clear data. Yeah, okay, Dan. So hello, Dan. Great to see you on the call. Thanks for the question. So if you're currently working on a larger project, common area hallways of an HOA, yeah, I mean, like I said before, we're doing bedrooms because it's a standard thing that I think a lot of contractors here have. But you can do a different area. I mean, feel free to send us that data if it's a larger room or space. Um, we'll try to use that data as best as possible. But whatever you have coming up, like the key here is that we have clear photos and that we have clear documentation of what the space is. So um, Scott, good to see you, Scott. Well, I don't have a Canadian accent. It's because I joke that my parents raised me on CNN. So that way, I get good news, and I don't have an accent. So there you go, man. All right, any more questions? These are great. Keep them coming. Um, yeah, like I said, I mean, we're super excited about this project. I think it's going to be great for everyone. I'm so excited to see some people in the call that are been longtime clients of ours, and yeah, people who are excited to make a difference. So, Stephen, hello, Stephen. If painting by spray, we're doing multiple rooms, should we allocate a portion of setup and cleanup time? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to be doing spray, and you got to lay down plastic, you know, you got to tape things off, put down paper, all that kind of thing plays a factor. So try to time it out for each room as your team goes through it, and that's going to help. I know that on a bigger project where you're spraying out a lot of things, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to figure out, prep and cleanup time as a whole. So because you're not doing one individual room, but uh, any type of assessment you can make of what that took to set up and clean up is great. One of the key things actually that would be really helpful is if you're using a sprayer and having to set that up and clean that up, figure out what that time is and send that back to us, because I think that's a number that a lot of contractors would like to know is, hey, how long did it take to set up for the spray in terms of getting the sprayer ready, making sure the space is good, and then how long did it take to clean up? Because I think a lot of people have questions about whether their team are doing that well. So yeah, thank you for the question, Stephen. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, John. Hello, John. So rolling in a room full of furniture will be different than an empty room. Are you guys going to collect that data point? Yeah, add into the details. So you'll see that there's a prep description. So once we see your photos and we see your prep description, we can put those two things together, because absolutely there's a different amount of time from an empty home to something with furniture. But wouldn't it be great to know what that time is? So please make a note of that. Let us, put that information together, make it apples to apples. And, if we can tell everybody what the production time is for walls on a room that has furniture versus doesn't, that's going to be awesome. So please do. All right, Luke. What's up, Luke? So is there any type of bedroom you would want to avoid? High detail, trim moldings, wood windows, vaulted ceilings, skylights, etc. Yeah, I mean, the answer is probably, I mean, the more complicated the bedroom is going to be, or if you're doing high-end finishes like, I don't know, fine paints of Europe or something like that, it's going to be hard for us to put that data together. That said, I mean, like if you have high ceilings, and we hope that some people have high ceilings, we're going to be able to give some data back about high ceilings. So don't let the height of it really concern you, as long as we know what the height is. If you have high detail trim, I mean, get the best information you can from that, send it back to us. We'll see if we can give that back to people in a meaningful way. But sometimes there is elements that are quite are going to be complicated. For the sake of this project, we want to keep it simple, straightforward. Not to say that in the future we won't do some more complicated projects. Okay, so Brian, yeah, thanks for the comment. So if there's two people working, you need to track total man hours. 1 hour of time work for two people is not one. Absolutely, yes. So we want to take the time for all of that activity for number of people in the room and bring that together as one data point. Yeah. So Thomas, your last point here about the um, how many people prepping. So one person takes an hour, two people take 30 minutes. That's still an hour. Absolutely. So I think we're going to find that like as we go through this project, um, we can give that information back to our crews and say, hey, look, this should take an hour. So there's two of you, half an hour each, and it's 8 a.m. by 8:30. We should see this done. Cool. These are great questions, guys. It's really, really helpful to clarify. Um, I think as you get into this, you're going to have more questions. Like I mentioned before, email us if you can at hello@paintscout.com. Michaela on our team, who's great, is going to be taking all those questions, and she's going to be answering them in rapid time. You're going to be impressed. So, any need to record the amount of paint used? No, we're not going with paint for this project. You could throw that in there if you want. I mean, the more details, the better. But for this individual project, Martin, we are going with how long things take, and we're not going to be testing the manufacturer's recommendations, unfortunately. So, yeah, great question, but we're going to keep it to time on this one. Fred, hey, thanks. Fred just sending some love to us. Wanted to say thank you for putting this project together. Fred, we're so happy you're a part of it. Like I mentioned before, I've been in this industry for 15 years. I know I look like I'm in high school, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I am so excited about this project too. It's I think from what I can understand, it's probably the first of its kind, and something that is just great. So Fred, thank you for being a part of it, really truly. All right. Like I said, we have a lot of people on this call today, and that's really exciting. People from all around the world who are interested to know the answers to these questions. And our team has been working tirelessly to try to figure this out. We don't know, because this is the first time we've done this, we don't know exactly all the details here that are going to be necessary for success, but we're going to learn those together. And as the questions come up, we're going to be working through those. So, so Brian, question. Yeah, so what are you hoping to uncover that the PCA production rates have not already established? One of the big things with the PCA production rates is that they were developed for commercial painting. Originally, the PCA, as I understand it, was a union association. They were developed for a lot of time, from what I understand, commercial new construction rates, and those don't apply tremendously well to repaint contractors. When I first was looking for the data, I came across that information that the PCA had, and I found it very challenging to understand. It wasn't clear, and as I dove into it more, because it was a commercially based association, it made sense to me why it was hard. So our goal here is to uncover what it takes for repaint contractors and to share very detailed information with those who are a part of this project, and to pare that information down to potentially help some new contractors as they get involved. We believe that, as we get better, we all get better, and I think that's going to be a huge part of it. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense, Brian. Dan, so during the project, Dan, hello, thanks for the question. During this project, are you going to have ongoing Zoom type meetings like this? Yes, we are. Yeah, so we'll be doing a meeting probably mid-project for any questions people have. Also, just to kind of kick everyone's ass a little bit, make sure that they're getting things going. But also, we're going to do one at the end. We're excited to launch the data set at the end for those who have participated, and just to explain what that means. So absolutely, yeah, if that'd be helpful. Luke, so something goes wrong. Do you want that time included, i.e. paint spell, color change after first coat, crew member needs to leave during the test? Preferably not. I think this particular data set we're trying to get, we're just looking for consistency. So if something goes wrong, I'm really sorry that it went wrong. Hopefully this project wasn't the cause of it, but we want that activity to be start to finish, not interrupted. So if it becomes interrupted, great question. Don't include that if you can. We'll just go to the next next coat or next activity in that area. So yeah, great question. Great. I think we're gonna call it there. Unless we have maybe 30 more seconds for questions. Quick. Now's the time. No time like the present. We'll wrap this up here. Yeah, 40 minutes after the hour. All right, Thomas, snuck one in here in last 2 minutes. So with all the data you collect, will you be able to update the program with different rates? Yeah, we're going to make those available to you if you want to. For those who have participated in the project, we can upload that stuff for you, and I think it'll be great. So, Scott, hey, just give me some love too, Scott. Thank you so much. See you in San Diego, man. Absolutely, feels good. Thank you. Can't wait to see you, man. All right. Good stuff. Okay, we'll cut it off there. Thanks, guys. You've been a great crowd. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you. And I can't wait to get this project going and see some results and make all of our businesses better. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And yeah, let's get rolling.